This Sunday, I want to conclude with our series on kingdom builders, building the kingdom of God. That's why we are here. Every one of us are building a kingdom. You're not building your own kingdom. You're either building God's kingdom or Satan's kingdom. And if you're not building God's kingdom, then by default, you're building the kingdom of darkness. And you're like, well, I'm not out there trying to do that. You're either a part of one kingdom or the other. You're part of one family or the other. Remember, Jesus, because we have the phrase people use, and I just heard it again. I think it was somewhere on a podcast or someone saying something. Well, we're all children of God. That's not true. Jesus told the Pharisees, you're of your father, the devil. There's two families you can be a part of. There are two kingdoms that you can be a part of. Our responsibility of believers is to go into the kingdom of darkness, into the family of darkness, and bring individuals into the kingdom of light. Now, we do our part in the natural. It's the Spirit of God supernaturally working through us. And how can we bring Jesus into every area and aspect of our life that He would be exalted? That's how the kingdom is built. It's when He is lifted up that all individuals are drawn to Him. Not when He and I are lifted up or when I'm lifted up. No, it's not about us at all. It's about Jesus and magnifying Him in each situation. If you missed any of the previous kingdom builders in the series, there are 4 of them previous to this, I would ask you to please go back and listen to them. We laid a very solid biblical foundation. This has a lot to do with the direction we are headed as a church, especially dealing with finances and where we're going. And I would encourage you to please go back and listen to those. They're very important to get the understanding of where we're at even today. Because we looked at 3 main areas. The first one, of first and utmost importance, how we become kingdom builders, is through prayer. As we have missionaries who will come in and they say, one of the main things you can do for us is pray. They're not just blowing smoke, they're being honest with you. Without prayer, it's all just futile. What prayer does is it brings the supernatural into the natural realm. It's us partnering with God. It is the most powerful place where we can be in building that kingdom through prayer, getting God's direction, clarity, insight. Lord, what do you want to have done? And this should be a part of our daily life. Now, you don't have to get up and say, Lord, I spent 2 hours this morning praying about what color socks to wear. I mean, there are things, God's given us common sense, okay? And the unfortunate thing that people say is it's not common that people use common sense. We need to use our brains, need to use common sense. I don't have to spend a long time praying about my sock color. Now, I just asked my wife. That's as good. I mean, that's great. That's all I need to do. But the Holy Spirit, I believe, wants to direct your day. Every day should be an adventure. Every day. You're getting up, Lord, what do we have today? And the devil should be shuddering because you're up. Okay, you're causing problems to His kingdom. And so, Lord, what do you have for me today? And it may be that you're talking with someone behind the counter and selling jewelry to them, and they come up and ask a question about something, or a conversation starts about something. And what's happening? The Holy Spirit is opening up a door of opportunity for you. It may just be a few words. You may share a lot with them. You may pray and lead them to Christ. You may do whatever it is the Spirit of God is guiding you to do. And so every day should be an adventure in bringing Jesus into our situation. So prayer is of utmost vital importance. The second, so we're praying, we are going. That means the next door, and it may mean halfway around the world. For some, it may mean going on a missions trip, such as we're going to be going to Estonia here the end of June into July. For others, it is going to their neighbor next door and bringing a meal. For others, it may be at work. All of us, it should be the areas of influence where we're at. Remember, you and I, we are missionaries. You are sent ones to your sphere of influence, wherever that may be. And so we encourage you to, again, listening to the Holy Spirit where He calls you to go. Now, I believe it's also important, and we want to look even more at this, to have local opportunities. Now, there are community opportunities, but there are also other opportunities for us to be able to reach out as a church. For example, for our motorcycle rally coming up, we have Chris De Laurentiis, who will be here. He was here last year, just did such an amazing job. He's coming back this year, is going to be sharing. But they have ICCM. it used to be called Inner City Church of Minneapolis because they're in the inner city and dealing with individuals. Their entire church is really built around the inner city. Those that have been caught up in all kinds of things that the enemy has held them in bondage, they've been set free, and they're the ones that they're helping facilitate what the Lord has in that church. But there are ministries that they have, and where we can go up as a church or a group of individuals on, say, a Friday night and work with them down in the inner city. And so what happens is you get a whole different culture from what we're used to here, but you're a part of ministering to those individuals. We had some things that were brought up, we're doing some looking into. Many of you may have gone like to the banquet in Sioux Falls to help serve those that are in need over there. Different things that we can do locally and in this general area where you don't have to travel a 16-hour flight to get somewhere. Okay, we need all of these things, and I just encourage you as things become available, avail yourself to them. So we have our going also, the praying, the going, and the last time we met, we were talking about giving. Oh, here we go again, that money thing. We're in church. You shouldn't be talking about that in church. If you don't hear the biblical principles here, where are we going to get them? And remember, we said Jesus talked more about money than he did almost anything else. Why? Because it's such a vital part of people's lives. It's such a connection with everyday life and what takes place. And if I understand the biblical principles that God has laid out in his word, then we're helping each other to be able to accomplish what God has for us. See, God has given us enough time in our life and the finances that we need to be able to accomplish everything he's called us to do, and to carry out the ministry around the world. Because remember, building the kingdom is both locally, globally, it's all over. And we can do it all simultaneously. And we've talked about that in some previous messages. So we looked at the giving element of that, and we discovered that the tithe, 10%, is holy, and it's set apart to the Lord. If I keep it for myself, I'm taking what belongs to God. Now, we recognize that God owns everything. There's nothing that we have, material, business, family, anything. Everything I have, it's been given to me by God, and he asks me on this earth to be a steward of the resources that he has given to me. Now, he's gracious enough to allow me to keep 90% of that. And he says, honor me first with a tithe of the increase, whether that's your salary, whether that's business increase, whether that's investments or whatever, anything that's increased to me. If I take that 10% and give it to the Lord through the local church to carry out the ministries there, then that's putting God in first place with those finances. And we took some time and we looked at that. We looked at biblical foundation for it. Remember, we had 30 people up here, all had $10 pieces of paper, and we had 27 over here, and out of 30, we had 3 over here that God says, this is mine. And a lot of it, a majority of it, 27 of them were really our own, what God calls us to keep. And we're out of line if we walk over and take one of God's and bring it back over here. But actually, we can get to a point where we're able to give into the Lord's work more and more of that. So we spent some time looking at the tithe, and we give it not out of compulsion, but because our heart has been touched by God, and we desire him to have first place in our life. No one here will ever be forced to give anything. As I've shared before, I have no clue what anyone gives or does not give, and I never will. I don't want to. But God gives us the opportunity to partner with him through the finances that he's blessed us with. If he's given it all to me and he says, I'm asking that you would partner with me with the tithe, it's like, Lord, of course, absolutely. I want to do that because you've touched my heart. You've ministered to me. That's the least that I can do. And then we begin to look at, what if we were able to go beyond the tithe? What if we were able to go beyond 10%, which covers the operational expense of the church, utilities, ministries, salaries, office supplies, ministry material, all those things. And any extra given would go to support missionaries, both globally, stateside, along with special projects that they may have. Some that we've done in the past of freeing families out of labor slavery, tabernacles in Tanzania, goats, and ministry with a hospital and other ministries over in Niger, to a Bible school in Cuba. Many, many different things that we've been able to do as a church through the years of giving above that 10%. Now, it's like, we've used this illustration before, it's like investing in an eternal reward Christian mutual fund. It would be a supercharged way to store up treasures in heaven because we're all working together to see it accomplished. One of the New Testament examples we looked along this line, if you would turn in your Bibles to 2 Corinthians chapter 8, just want us to briefly look at this again. The Apostle Paul is bragging to the Corinthian believers about the Macedonian believers. And he's saying, look at the Macedonian believers. They're an amazing group of people who, even in their poverty, even in their difficult situation, they have given greatly to the work of what needs to be done in helping the saints in Jerusalem. Look at verse 1. And now, brothers, we want you to know about the grace that God has given the Macedonian churches. Out of the most severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity. For I testify that they gave as much as they were able, notice this, and even beyond their ability, entirely on their own. They urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in this service to the saints. And they did not do as we expected, but they gave themselves first to the Lord and then to us in keeping with God's will. Paul's saying these people went way beyond anything that I even expected. And this is not a rich church. These people, many of them, it's persecution and very poverty-stricken area. But they're like, man, my heart's been touched by God. I can't help Paul. They would have gotten on Paul if Paul would not have given them this opportunity to give. They so wanted to honor the Lord in the midst of that. And it says their giving was sacrificial. They stretched their faith, and it says they gave beyond their ability. Now, how do we do that? How do we give beyond our ability? Because we can only give what we have. It is trusting God to go beyond what I can just do in the natural, saying, Lord, with your help, I'm trusting that I'm going to give this amount. Because anytime we partner with God, there's a natural part that we have to play, but we always have to remember there's a supernatural part that only God can play. And I believe it's great for every one of us. I believe that I would encourage you, pray about it and stretch your faith so far out there. It's like, God, without you intervening, there is no way I can meet this goal that I have set. There's just no way. And you might have some that's going to take you quite a long time to hit. But you know what? That's where my focus is. And so beyond their ability is they're trusting God to help meet what they're going to supply to the believers that are in Jerusalem. Now, again, the focus of giving even above that tithe is not out of pressure or obligation, but knowing God has blessed me to be a blessing. In Acts chapter 20, verse 35, Acts chapter 20, verse 35, it says, in everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words the Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. It's more blessed to give than receive. I think all of us have had the experience of there was someone you bought a gift for, and it's something that they really wanted, and they didn't know that you bought it for them. You may have worked really hard for it to get some extra money to purchase this, and when you give it to them and have them open that gift and see what it is, just to see the look on their face, man, it blesses you more than it blesses them. You're excited about it. It's like, wow, that is so awesome to be a part of that and bless that individual. Well, God has blessed us. If you look at the rest of the world, we have been given so much more than almost any other place, way beyond what individuals in other places are living. And that's not to give us a guilt complex. I had shared when I came back from Pakistan that seeing the poverty there, and one of the things that we shared in one of our debriefing meetings before we left the country and came back, the gentleman heading it up, Dirk Courier, one of the missionaries we support, he said, you go back, it's like, what do I do with this? He said, don't go back with the mentality we just, feeling guilty and ashamed for all the blessings that you have. He said, don't do that. Realize that you have been blessed to be a blessing. There's a reason and a purpose behind it. Now, handle that properly. Deal with those things properly. That's why God has blessed us. It's not more holy to be poverty-stricken. It's not more holy to be in a situation where we're always dependent upon others. Holiness and a humble attitude has everything to do with the heart. It has to do with my focus here. Whether you have a tremendous amount or you don't have anything, you can be greedy or humble in any state of life. And so it's keeping our focus right. Genesis chapter 12. Genesis chapter 12, the first 3 verses, we see what God did with Abram for a specific purpose and reason. Now it says, the Lord had said to Abram, this is before his name was changed to Abraham, leave your country, your people, and your father's household. Go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will be a what? A blessing, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And look at this, and all peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. Will be blessed through you. God blesses the earth through the believers. The greatest gift and blessing there is the salvation provided through Jesus Christ, which is free. But now how do we get that message out to others? And that costs money to get a free message out, generally. And so the whole earth, think about this, the whole earth can be blessed through you, through your praying, through your going, and through your giving. Now I want to take this just in a brief nutshell, trying to catch you up a little bit. I want to give you some practical steps. So how does this affect us as a church? How are we going to deal with this as a church? And I have an illustration up here that I want to share with you. I want to move this so everybody can see. We have a variety of different things up here that are different buckets. We have this one, it's a larger one. This is the tithes. This is that 10%. So if I earn a certain amount of money, if I earn $1,000, then that first 10%, that first tithe would be how much? Very good. All right, everyone made it through math class. 10% would be $100. And so that I want to honor God first, and so that first $100 goes into this bucket, which would be the tithe, which we talked about through your local church. Now, what we have, and this is just a little bit of an illustration to show where sometimes things can get a little confusing. Because on top of the tithe, it's like, okay, so now we're going to ask you to make a faith promise, give monthly or however often to our missionaries, both foreign missionaries, U.S. missionaries, those who are full-time working in the area of missions. Many of you have made a faith promise toward that. Some give on a regular basis. So we're asking you to give to missions. We want to support our missionaries. But then many of those missionaries, and we'll hear special projects that come up, like we talked about goats, to Niger, Africa, to help provide milk for malnourished newborns, and a ministry that's taking place there, as we several years ago gave to put up a tabernacle in Tanzania. It was about $10,000 for that. When I was in India and helping to do surgeries for children with cleft palates, and the ministry that was over there in many different areas, we gave as a church over $15,000 in a year for that. So this would be above that. And then we have, Convoy of Hope. If you're familiar with Convoy of Hope, Convoy of Hope, wherever there is a disaster anywhere in the world, Convoy of Hope is there. And it's one of the great ways to know that when you give money, all of it into Convoy of Hope, it's going to help those people. There's a disaster, whether it's here in the States, whether it's overseas somewhere, a tragic earthquake, Convoy of Hope is there. And so we would like you to give to Convoy of Hope when we have those situations. We have scholarships. We don't want anyone to miss going to camp or retreat, an advance, whatever it is, where they can't go because of finances. So we want to help provide some of that. And so we're asking maybe people to give. Maybe someday, we don't have it now, but a carpet fund or giving into future, building, remodel, expansion. The carpet has to replace, the roof has to be replaced. We need you to be able to give into that. And then also we've got local outreaches, whether it is Love Inc., whether it is Helping Hand, whether it is our motorcycle rally or other things. All of those things cost money. And so at different times we may ask, and then you're like, well, wait, what about, did we meet that carpet fund, or how about the goats? Where's that at? And it's like, I've got extra money, and I don't even know where to give it. Do I give it towards the carpet? Is that real spiritual? I guess we're taking care of God's, his property and things, but I'd like to, help those that are bringing individuals out of human trafficking, and I'm kind of limited where this goes. But which one of these do I give into? And they're all good, but it can get confusing, and it can get a little bit frustrating. And so what we're going to do is we're going to simplify things for everyone with their giving. And we have another large bucket called Kingdom Builders, where what will happen, those local outreaches goes into Kingdom Builders. Carpet, Kingdom Builders. Convoy of Hope, Kingdom Builders. All these separate ones, scholarships are in here. We've got mission special projects are in here. We have missionaries that we're supporting both at home and abroad. So what happens, it simplifies things to the tithe and Kingdom Builders. Every penny given above the tithe will go to support Kingdom Builders. Not just one area, but many, many, many different areas. If you think about it in the natural, it's before there were mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, indexes, things that you could invest in several companies in, it was usually like one company you would invest in. Coca-Cola or Walmart or whatever it may be that you want to select. My money goes into one company. You might have several different companies, but it's just into one company that you're putting a certain amount of money. And then comes along mutual funds, where they say, we're taking a whole group of companies and we're putting them in this fund, and you put money into that fund and it goes into all of these companies. If one company is doing really well and another one's not, it helps offset that. You can follow the S&P 500 following an index, and all of the companies that are in there, you can put your money into that, which brings about 9 to 10% a year average throughout many, many, many years. You can give into the NASDAQ, all those different things. So it's not just one company you're dependent upon. You don't have to try to do all the research. Okay, do I give here? Do I give here? I'm going to give into this, and it's a way to give. Well, think of this as, like we said, a mutual fund, where I'm choosing to bless all of those. If every dollar I give goes to support all of these different ministries and what God has called us to do as a church. So what this does is it simplifies the whole process. Now, what's included in this? What's included in this? How are we going to do this? Well, what we are doing as a church, we are going to be taking out of the tithes that come in. Last year, we as a church, income, it was about it was over $366,000. So what would happen is that $36.6 thousand we're tithing off of the tithe. So we're taking of what's given, a tithe of that, and it's going into Kingdom Builders. So between $37,000 goes into Kingdom Builders. And then what we're asking is that each one, this is for kids, this is for youth, this is for adults, that you be in prayer, Lord, what would you have me to do? What would you have me to do above that tithe? Now, some other areas that some of this will be solidified, because we're believing we're going to have even a lot more than what we've ever had in the past to be able to sow into different areas. Teen Challenge is an area has the highest percent of success rate of those that have gone through drug and alcohol treatment. Once they get out, they have between a 70 and 80% success rate. Any other program has a very low success rate. Let's sow in, now these are possibilities. I'm not saying we're actually doing this, but these are possibilities. Teen Challenge, something with orphans and widows. We really don't have anything right now, but the Lord talks about that, supporting and helping those who are widows, those who are orphans. Project 42 is a ministry. We've shared a little bit about this. We don't personally support them individually right now, but could be a part of Kingdom Builders. Their whole focus it's reaching the 42% of the unreached in the world. In a majority of churches, what's given toward missions, only a very small percent, I think they say about 3%, goes to reach the unreached. And so Project 42 focuses on that 42%. Lake Geneva, our camp. Those of you that have been there even recently, we have a beautiful camp up in Alexandria. Many lives have been transformed through camp. We have kids and youth who are going to camp this year. Another possibility, fire Bibles for prisons. The Pentecostal study Bible that we have that a person can purchase, they are provided to jails and prisons. We use them here locally. They're provided free. There's a certain criteria that needs to be met, that those who are incarcerated have to meet that in order to get the Bible, but it's because of the support of others that they're able to provide those Bibles free for prisons. It's an amazing, amazing tool. So many different things, fighting human trafficking. As we've done some individual things along those lines, but nothing on a regular basis. And again, Convoy of Hope just does an amazing job of reaching those who have gone through devastation. Now, these are some possibilities for us to do, and generally how it's broken down, because we want to reach globally, locally, but also future leadership. Approximately 60 to 70% would go to global missions of Kingdom Builders. 15 to 20% to local missions, those who are stateside doing ministry work in the ministries that are there. 12% for future leaders, camps, youth, conventions, missions trips. So no child or adult has to miss those things because of lack of finances. And then 5% to other things. It may be locally, it may be globally, things that may come up where we determine, yes, we would like to give into that area. A person can't pick and choose. They can't, it's like every amount I give above the tithe, Kingdom Builders. And I can't say, I want, out of this $100 I'm giving, I want 50 to go here and 50 to go there. It's no, you put it in Kingdom Builders, unless a person wants to sponsor and pay for an entire project. Say we're going to put up a tabernacle in Tanzania again, $10,000, and someone comes up and says, I want to support and I want to give the entire project. Great, you can do that, but if it's not that, then it goes to Kingdom Builders. Otherwise, there's no way we'd be able to keep track of all the different individualized areas where people wanting to give into. So this is something that we're going to be headed into as a church. I said, every child and every youth can be a part of this, and their giving can go actually specifically to Speed the Light for youth, BGMC, Boys and Girls Missionary Crusade for kids. That's specific areas that they are able to give into. But if I have a job mowing lawns in the summer, then I take a tithe of that and give it, and then anything above that, give into another area, Speed the Light, BGMC. This is what happens is this gets exciting. When people understand the principle of sowing and reaping and giving and receiving and us partnering with God, it gets exciting. A person looks forward to, and we'll give you updates. This is a project that we're looking at giving to, and so people will see on a regular basis, okay, here's a project we're supporting as a church. This is an area, this is a missionary, this is what they're doing, this is something locally that's taking place, so that when you give to Kingdom Builders, you're going to support that. Just even thinking about, and we've shared this before, but it boggles my mind, and God's got it all figured out, but even with freeing 5 families from labor slavery in Pakistan, You, everyone here who is praying and giving toward that, you are a part of freeing those families. You will be rewarded by the Lord for your faithfulness in that area. Okay, and you didn't have to pick and choose that as just one, or you wouldn't in the future, because it would be included in Kingdom Builders. Now, I know this might make sense to some, and some are like, I'm not exactly sure. And please, if you have questions, come and talk with me. This is, again, a new area that we're headed as a church, which I believe is able to greatly increase what we're able to do as a church body in supporting God's work both locally and globally around the earth. Now, next week, there will be a sheet of paper that will be in your bulletin. Heidi's just learning about this. There will be a sheet of paper that we'll have printed out, and that will be a goal that you're going to set. Again, you don't have to do this, but I don't know why a person wouldn't want to. It's like, I want to be a part of this. So we are not going to be doing, many have made faith promises to missions. We're not going to be doing that. We're still supporting all of our missionaries, okay? But what we're asking each one to do, it might be as an individual and or a family, but to pray about it. Lord, what do you have me to do? We've got the tithe, but even above that, what am I able to do? Every amount is important. It's not the amount, it's the attitude of the heart. And remember, praying and asking the Lord, and He may prompt your heart to give an amount. It's like, Lord, I can't do that. Well, that's good. It should be that way. Because remember, it takes His supernatural help in the midst of that. And what we're going to ask you to do, normally you turned in faith promises to missions. You're not going to turn this in. You're going to have that piece of paper, and you'll put down, after praying about it as a family or an individual, what are we believing that God would have us do this year? Writing that down and keeping that. And then whether it is weekly, monthly, couple of times a year, whatever it is, that you're giving into Kingdom Builders. Even though on your envelopes right now it has different areas, it's either tithe or Kingdom Builders where all of the finances will go. That's why you just need to clearly mark it. And if you say, well, you know what, I'm skipping the tithe, forget that, I'm going straight to Kingdom Builders and doing that. No, you got it backwards, okay? It doesn't work that way, because now if you do that, you're taking what God says is mine first, okay? And you're removing that. So we have to start there. That's the foundation. The tithe, everything above it is Kingdom Builders. My wife and I have, and we'll be talking about this and praying about this even more, but as far as we tithing, and we talked about faithful with that since many years ago. But then also, we have an amount each month that we give to missions. Well, we've done some talking about this and things too. For us, it's not just taking that amount and saying I'm doing that with Kingdom Builders. It's that plus, I believe, even more. Because we can readjust some things and praying about it. Yeah, I can afford to do this, but what is God asking me to do? What is He prompting my heart to do? And so I want to challenge you to please be in prayer about this. You're going to keep those. You're not going to turn them into the church. Giving as you're able to, and doing that and stretching your faith. And then in November, we're going to be having what we're going to call a miracle offering. We're just believing. Now, you may be faithful every week or every month giving, and wonderful, and you've got that all set on a schedule. But then in November, we're going to have a miracle offering, believing for the largest offering to help support a majority of this. A lot of churches who are doing this is in many churches. The goal is to try to get over $1 billion to missions. And we're able to be a part of that, partnering with many other churches doing the same thing with Kingdom Builders. And many of them will say the majority of the amount for Kingdom Builders comes in that miracle offering. Now, that's between you and the Lord. So in November, we're going to be having a time, and we'll be talking about it, a miracle offering we're trusting to be able to give into. And it may be that, you know what, man, I had a goal by October. We met that goal, but I feel prompted. I'm excited about this. I want to give even more in this miracle offering. So all of this comes down. I'm not saying what to do, how to do it. That's between you and God. What we're doing as a church, we're opening up an opportunity for you to partner together as a local body with the Lord, not out of compulsion or force or pressure, but I can't keep this from you. I believe God has so much for us to do as a church. And I really believe this is going to propel us to that next place way beyond to give what we've ever given before. So here's where we're at, and I'll close with this. As a church, the board, we have prayed about this. We've been talking about this for quite a long time. And with anything new, obviously there's a learning curve. There's a process. Okay, this is kingdom building. Well, maybe it should be over here. And there will be some minor adjustments and things like that. We as a church are believing, the board, deacon board, myself, after discussion, praying about it, that from this point of the year to the end of the year, the board has set a goal of $150,000 to go toward kingdom builders, projects that God has for us. That will be a stretching of our faith. That's more than we have ever given as a church, and well above what we've ever given as a church. We've been around, if you include everything, close to right at $100,000. Some of those things that we don't have as income anymore to be able to give. But we're believing that as a church, God's stirring all of our hearts. We together are able to do that. You say, well, what if you don't meet and get $150,000? Then we rejoice in what we've given. This is not something that it's like, oh, we're looking from a pessimistic viewpoint. Now, you're probably not going to do that. Now, you have to be realistic. We're doing $10 million this year, everybody. Come on, let's get on board. And it's like, whoa, there's faith, there's foolishness and presumption, okay? We want to operate in faith. So we believe we're stretching as a church. We believe that we can do this together. But let's say we don't hit $150,000. What do? We have a party and we celebrate for every dollar that we've been able to put into Kingdom Builders because we're excited about it. We're not planning on failing, we're planning on succeeding. And it's not failure by not hitting a goal. It's like, okay, didn't quite hit that goal, but we got a lot farther than what we've ever done before. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to stretch a little bit more. And then we're going to stretch a little bit more. And again, please do not feel pressure, but you have to, that first one, prayer of being a kingdom builder, I implore you, please spend time as an individual and as a family praying about this. God, what would you have us to give? And be excited. Be excited about it, and God will give you so many creative ways of what to do. As I had shared, I was talking with someone a month or so ago, and before we even started talking about this, and they were telling me about a creative way that God was just kind of laying on their heart to be able to do something to cause more finances to come in. And they said, and I want to be able to give that to missions. Because we get in such I'm on a fixed income. This is all I can do. That's it. That's you're operating, which is good. We need wisdom. But you're operating just on a mental, natural level. Okay, I've got a fixed income, but God's not on a fixed income. Okay? Can He use me as a vessel and an avenue to bring blessing around the world? So if it's trusting God for an extra $10 to come in a year, trust God for $10, $100, $1,000, $100,000, whatever it may be. And God, just expect the Lord to begin to speak to your heart. And there might be some areas where it's like, ooh, Lord, I don't know about that. Be open to Him, ready to step into those areas.